My name is Randy Accetta. I teach at the University of Arizona at the McGuire Center for Entrepreneurship, and I've given talks around town about entrepreneurship and business communication. I'm super excited about being here to talk about this. So let's talk a little bit more about the 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch. As you may know, an elevator pitch is the idea that you have to represent yourself to anybody at any level, at any time, almost about any topic of your venture. Now, why do we talk about an elevator pitch? The idea, of course, is that you get in an elevator, and by the time you get to the top of the elevator, you can explain yourself to anybody, whether it's asking somebody for a date or asking them for a lot of money for your venture. As we move into the elevator pitch, I want you to think about what kind of elevator you think you are. What is your company? Are you sort of solid, middle America, salt of the earth grain elevator? Are you sleek, modern, sophisticated? Who are you and what are you? Where are the places that you can give an elevator pitch? Let's think of the types of elevator pitches you might give. You know that we leave voicemail messages. Hello, I'm Randy Accetta. I'm calling to ask you, da-da-da. You have about 10 seconds. Quick, get out. How many times have you left a rambling message where you say, oh my goodness, I should have just shut up right there? How many times have you gotten one of these phone messages where you just want to hit delete? Figure out how you're going to do a 10-second voicemail greeting. That's your elevator pitch. Another type of elevator pitch is a little bit longer, perhaps 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 40 seconds. It's a networking introduction. You're at a trade show, you have a social opportunity, sometime to talk about yourself and your venture. The last type of elevator pitch could be a more formal 2-minute or 1-minute formal presentation where somebody says, well, you have 2 minutes to pitch yourself. Trade shows, interviews, these are the types of places. As you think about your venture and as you think about yourself, you're going to be thinking about how you present yourself in these 3 types of elevator pitches. There are a couple of ways of looking at an elevator pitch. To my mind, it's an overview of what you do, who you are and what you do. What are the communities that you're involved with? What are the benefits that you offer to a given audience? And what's your primary competitive advantage? Who are you? Where do you belong? How can you give value to the person to whom you're speaking? And then the final sort of key element of this is what's the next step? What do you want from somebody? So let's look a little bit more in depth at some of this stuff. You all know the reporter's questions. Who, what, when, where, and why. Sometimes how is added in there. If you're thinking of how you present yourself, whether it's an elevator pitch, an executive summary, or the full business plan, these are some of the key elements that you want to be able to give to somebody else. Who are you? Literally, what's your name? My name is Randy Accetta. Who are you? What's your name? What's your company name? All right. What's the problem or opportunity that you're circling around? What are you trying to solve? My name is Randy Accetta. I'm in the field of communication, entrepreneurial, new venture communication. Who's affected by the problem? Who can benefit from the opportunity that you're talking about? In my case, in this area, I might say, I'm here to help those who are starting a new business be able to communicate their new venture. Budding entrepreneurs don't know how to talk about who they are very well sometimes. Often you're scientists or business people not really ready with the quick verbal gesture of who you are. But what is your problem? What opportunity are you solving? And what's your solution to the problem? How do you solve the problem? How do you add value? Other things to consider, where are you? We're here in Tucson, Arizona. We're in the state of Arizona. Professionally, metaphorically, where are you? Where are you on the venture development path? Final 2 questions to think of answering in your elevator pitch are why you? What's special about you? A little bit later, we'll talk about your superhero strength or your secret sauce. But why you? What makes you and your venture interesting? And again, remember I said it a moment ago, what's next? What's your next step? What do you want to happen out of this given interaction? So I like to think of 8 tips. I mean, we live in numbers, right? You read, you're standing at the checkout line at the supermarket, and all the magazines there say 8 ways to keep your love alive, 5 ways to lose weight. These are 8 tips for an elevator pitch. The first is know your audience. We have different audiences almost every moment in our life where we have somebody different that we need to talk with. Know your audience. What are their needs? What are their motivations? What are their desires? How can you address those? The second tip, as you start an elevator pitch, think of a hook, a way to be interesting. In English 101, they talk about 4 or 5 ways to get into an English paper. You start with an anecdote, you give a startling statistic, you make a fact that causes somebody to pay attention, a deep detail that nobody would know, maybe a quotation. What's your hook? Give somebody a reason to remember you. We run across, they say, something like 300 people a day, depending on where you are. How does somebody remember you? Pitch the problem that you solve. Tip number 4, pitch the problem you solve. Talk about that triad: problem, who's got it, and how you solve it. Fifth tip, something sort of important to me, is don't use buzzwords. A lot of people live in jargon. They live in their discourse community jargon, the scientific terms, the business terms. I'd recommend that you just use plain, everyday, common language. Try to bring it down to a regular conversation rather than using the buzzwords of the day or the buzzwords of your business or your industry. Tip number 6, practice makes perfect. You know, everyone says practice makes perfect. Practice, practice, practice. But I would caution you that you want to practice successfully and get some people to help you and look at what you say and how you say it, maybe proofread your script. Perfect practice makes perfect. Bad practice makes bad final results. So make sure that your practice, you have a little bit of help in professionalizing your practice. Finally, number 7 and 8. Number 7, show your superhero strength. I'll talk about that in a few moments. But what is it about you and your venture that's special? We are all special in our certain way. What is it about you? What is it about your business? We'll come to that in a moment. Number 8, end with your next steps. Again, what do you want? What's your call to action? Do you want them to call you? Do you want to meet them on Monday at 6 o'clock? What is your next step? All right, so I just talked about the 8 tips. And remember, tip number 7 was show your superhero strength. Superhero. What is your superhero strength? Are you Superman, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound? Are you Spider-Man, able to spin out a wonderful web? I don't think I could pull off Wonder Woman, but are you Wonder Woman, speedy and smart and sassy? What's your venture's superhero competitive advantage? What is great about you? How can you save the world? Do you have valuable intellectual property? Do you have intellectual property? Or do you have a patent? Is your patent pending? Do you have something that protects you? Are you the first to market? Are you guys just the ones who got out there first and you can master the market before anybody else gets it? Or do you have an awesome management team? And I capitalize team because it's a team. You are the management team. What is your superhero strength within your management team? Maybe your superhero strength is just cutting edge technology and you've got great engineers and you're just above the curve. But you need to think about what makes you special. What's your superhero strength? Heck, for all I know, you might be Wonder Dog, right? The little tiny dog that can leap buildings and save the world in a way that nobody would have anticipated. Figure out your superhero strength and be able to talk about it and basically show it to whatever audience you have. We're going to go back to numbers. I don't really like numbers, but we'll go through another list. When you give an elevator pitch, as I said earlier, it's to anybody at any time, at any place. So you could be at a cocktail party and you could meet somebody who might add value to you, perhaps a potential customer, perhaps a distributor, perhaps a new funder, perhaps a new employee. Figure out your audience. What are their needs? What do you want from them? Know that early. Aristotle, the great rhetorician from classical Greek, says it's all about the audience. So you got to know your audience. Sometimes in elevator pitches, people just start talking and they ramble like I'm doing right now. Keep it simple. Tell the truth. Don't make up numbers. Don't make up your superhero strength. Tell the truth. We're a company and we're in the early stage and we're doing A, B, and C, and we really need your help to do D, E, and F. Tell the truth. It's crucial. Number 3, I say image counts. And then I've got a picture of basically a used car salesman. Nothing wrong with being a used car salesman. We all need used cars. Selling is important. But what image do you want to portray? At the university, we work with student teams, some of which are high tech. So what do you need to do to show that you're high tech? Well, you better have a big high tech website, all right? So when you're talking with somebody, portray that image that you need. If you work in the farm industry, you need to be a part of that industry, know that community. You're going to reflect the image of the community that you're part of. My point is, people look at you, they look at how you're dressed, they look at the way you talk, listen to the way you talk. Your image counts. Project the image that you want. Tied into that is adapt your pitch to the situation. Where are you? Are you at a cocktail party where we only have a couple minutes to talk? Or are you at a trade show where you have a couple seconds to talk? What's the situation, and be willing to be flexible with it. Number 5, same thing, add value to that audience. What can you do to make their life better? If you're looking for a new customer, how can my products add value in exchange for your money? If you want an investor, how can you add value to that investor's portfolio? What can you give back to your audience? I'm repeating myself because it's important. You have to be memorable. You have to show your strength early and often. And again, an elevator pitch we've talked about could be 30 seconds, it could be 1 minute, it could be 10 seconds, but there's got to be something about what you do that's important and memorable. Figure it out and be able to convey that in a verbal utterance and at times in a written elevator pitch. Same concept is differentiate yourself with details. There's always a key detail about your venture that nobody else knows about. Rather than the broad stroke, as I'm telling you now, come up with a detail. I put on running races, and my detail is some version of, I can bring 2,000 people to downtown to help reinvigorate downtown economy. And we go up a mountain for a run. That's a detail that somebody will remember. A mountain, why would I want to run up a mountain? You wouldn't, but that's a different conversation. What is your superhero strength? What is it about you that's special? Be able to differentiate yourself with that detail. What did I say? Close with a call to action. What's the need? I go to funders seeking sponsorship dollars. So my call to action is, I really want your $10,000. You go to investors as an entrepreneur, and your call to action could be, I need your advice, I need your contacts, I need your proofreading, I need your help in getting a demo ready, or I need your money as an investor. What's your call to action? And again, practice, practice, practice. Be ready at the drop of a hat to talk about yourself. We've talked in broad strokes about all sorts of pieces of advice, 8 ways to do this, 9 ways to do that. Let's look at this potential pitch formula. I've adapted this from one of my old colleagues, Don Piper at the McGuire Center, and he himself took it from Crossing the Chasm about a decade ago. So it's a little bit dated, but the material is spot on and is still spot on. And it's very helpful for a new venture pitch, as well as almost any pitch, whether you're seeking funds, again, for sponsorship or trying to get a date. It's an awesome formula. So we start with what? We. Who are we? We, our company A, B, and C. We have created this product or this service for these people. Now remember, I talked earlier about details. So give us a number. We have created a new laser for the 44 million people who need laser surgery for their eyes. I'm making that up, but you see what I mean? That sets the market that you're talking about. The current customers are dissatisfied with the current market alternative. So you're going to differentiate yourself. What's your secret sauce? I call it your superhero strength. We, our company, have created this product for this number of people who are satisfied with this way that they normally do this thing, right? Our product, and then you talk about you, our new product does this, solves the problem in this way, right? Figure out what you do and get it down to 4, 5, 6 words. Our product provides this problem-solving capability, unlike that previous alternative. So now you've told us who you are, what you've done, for whom you've done it, and why you're better than the people who are already providing the service. It's brilliant. It sets you apart, and it shows that you know what you're talking about because you've got a couple of details in there. Now we're going to go back to we. We have assembled a key product or a key feature, whatever it is, and we want you to join us in what way? So what's your call to action? We want you to give us $45 million. We want you to meet us for lunch and talk about it. We want you to create a demo for us. We want you to buy our product. If you take a couple minutes right now, take out a piece of paper and just sketch for yourself, we or me, I am, whatever the company is, we've created this product for these people who who are dissatisfied with this market alternative. Our product provides this problem-solving capability, unlike that market alternative. We've put this team together, this is where we are, and we want you to do something. If you sketch that out, you are well on your way to an excellent elevator pitch. And again, you can go up and down the register. If it's a phone call, that's quick. It's 10 seconds, 15-second phone message. If it's a trade show and you've got 30 seconds to capture someone's attention, you've got it. Heck, you can write this up and put it on your brochure in different ways. It's an awesome tool. In a couple of minutes, we're going to talk about executive summaries and business plans. But if you think through this stuff, this is all you need to know about your company. It's all somebody else needs to know about what you're trying to do. To my mind, this is the framework for everything that you'll do in new venture communication. So pause the video and sketch out your answers to these prompts and see what you come up with. It's an awesome rubric for thinking about how you present yourself. Now I want to give you some miscellaneous advice on elevator pitches. And in fact, I've stolen this slide. It was actually given to me by my friend Joanne McMaster from the Arizona Center for Innovation because it's got elevators and moving parts. So you'll see down here, we're on the ground floor. The whole point is you've got an elevator ride with Bill Gates, an elevator ride with Richard Branson, with whomever you want to convince to do something. So where are you on the ground floor? The concept is you're going to introduce yourself. I told you earlier who you are, what you do, and why you do it, and for whom you do it. That might be a reasonable introduction. Build into that the problem and the solution. Who's got the problem, what's the problem, and how do you provide the solution? That is fundamental to everything around entrepreneurship. We take for granted sometimes that everybody knows what the problem is and everybody knows who's got it, but people don't. You need to tell them. This is the problem. These are the numbers of people who have it. That gets you to the second floor. Why are you better? We talked about superhero strength. You can climb the elevator faster than anybody else. How do you solve the problem, and why do you do it better than the competition that does it right now? Quick, quick, quick. You're on the third floor. Who's got the problem? What's the first customer? We haven't even talked yet about the customer. We've talked in broad strokes about the market and how there might be $44 million people in it or a $2 billion market. But who are the customers? Who's either the people you've already sold or the people that you will sell first? And that is fundamental. We'll talk more about that in the executive summary and the business plan, but who's that first customer? How do you make money? We didn't really talk about this in the elevator pitch. Often there's not enough time in a 20-second, 30-second, even 1-minute pitch. But you've got to talk in entrepreneurship about how you make money. We all have great ideas. We all have great solutions. But how do you make money? And revenue model is right there. Some could call it a business model. How much does it cost you to do whatever you do? And then how much do you sell it for? And how much money do you make in the middle? Fundamental. But that'll get you towards the top of your elevator ride. We all need money to make money, right? And that's the old saw. You need money to make money. You spend money to make money. When you give an elevator pitch, when you do a venture presentation, somewhere towards the end, generally, you might do it in the middle, or in the beginning rather, but generally it's towards the end, you say, hey, we need $500,000 and we're going to use it for these 3 things. We need $22 and we're going to use it for these 3 things. Whatever capital you need and how you're going to use it, that's a good little snippet towards the end of your elevator pitch. And that brings us to the top of the elevator. Close, close, close. Those of you who have done sales, you know the need to do some sort of hard close often enough. Will you please do this for me? Give me your $100 and I'll give you a pair of running shoes. That's your close. Would you like to buy these? Or would you like to be an investor in our venture? Would you like to work for us? You're going to close it with your new hire. Close, close, close. You got to ask for what you want. And we know this about the world. It's a rare day when somebody gives you something without you asking for it. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Why? Will you get a good response? If you've done all the steps on the way up the elevator, by the time you get out of the elevator at the top, chances are pretty good that somebody's going to like what you do and give you what you want. All right, so now we've talked about the elevator pitch, and I've taken about 20, 25 minutes to talk about a 2-minute or 30-second elevator pitch. intentionally. It's meant to be a long time belaboring the point of the elevator pitch, because everything you do in the elevator pitch, that short, tight, condensed version of who you are and what you do, gets built out over some of the other materials that you'll develop in your new venture communication. We're going to talk about a 1 to 2 page executive summary. After that, we'll talk about how to do a presentation, and then we'll talk about your business plan. But the point is, all that elevator pitch stuff is below the surface of the water. The bulk of the material you know will have been covered as you plan your elevator pitch, and then you'll be able to throw out little pieces of it, like the top of this iceberg here. So let's move to executive summary. An executive summary is a 1-page document. You could have a 2-pager. Sometimes there's a mini business plan, which is a 3 to 4-page document. But I really want you to think about having a single page, 1-page overview of your venture. Why 1 page? Nobody wants to read. We're an MTV microwave popcorn generation. Nobody has time to read 10 pages. They want to scan your document, see if there's something important in it, and then they'll invite you to talk more. But you got to get what you do into 1 page. There might be a time when you need 2 pages. Every once in a while, somebody will say, well, give me a lengthy version of what you have. But in my experience, everyone wants 1 page. So let's talk briefly about for whom you're writing the executive summary. Who do you come across as you're developing your entrepreneurial business? Investors. Many of you who are building scalable ventures will need people to help you fund it. Many of you will be bootstrapping it, and you may not need very many investors, but even if you're going to the 3 Fs, friends, family, and fools, you're going to need to give them something in writing that says what your venture is. So certainly investors. Now, maybe you have partners, not necessarily silent investors, but those who you'll partner with. They need to be able to see who you are. Customers, of course, would want to, potential customers certainly would want to be able to see what your venture is in 1 page, especially your early customers or your big ticket early customers. Same with some of the other folks, distributors, those who will help you run your business, do your operations. They may need to see who you are and what you do as they make the decision to work with you. I have media down here, and the executive summary for the media turns not really necessarily as an executive summary, but maybe a PR piece. So think of how you recast yourself to a newspaper or television stations and the like. And that'll fold, of course, over to general marketing. I put mom and dad in there. Sooner or later, you're just going to want to tell people what you do. Heck, you're going to want to Facebook it. So you're going to get your executive summary down to 300 words. So think about the types of audience, and you might, just like you did when you're looking for a job before you became an entrepreneur, you're gonna spin your CV or your resume to different employers. Same with your executive summary. So now let's look at some of the pieces of the executive summary, and I've taken this chart from AngelSoft, which is the premier go-to place for the angel investing groups around the country to ask those who are interested in pitching to them to submit their materials. So you as a company would submit all your materials to an AngelSoft site, and then the investors will read through it, and it's very formulaic. In fact, these are the things that they ask for, and these are the characters that they tell you that you're allowed to use. If you have 151 characters, it bounces you out. A lot like Twitter these days, right? 135 characters. Same with AngelSoft, you have a certain amount of characters. And these are the categories. 1 line, what do you do? 150 characters, not very much. And then you can elaborate on that, a business summary, a little bit more information. Management team is crucial. Who is on your team and why are they any good? And that circles back to what I said with that elevator pitch, your superhero strength. What is it about you and your team that's amazing? X number of years in the industry, Y number of brilliant inventions, whatever it is. And now we get into the nuts and bolts. What's the problem? What's your solution? And what's the market? Who's got the problem and how do you know it? We talked earlier about customers. It's fine to have a $45 billion market or 400 million people who might buy this, but who are you selling to? If you could talk about your specific customers or your next step customers, AngelSoft gives you 210 characters, but that's fundamental in the executive summary. It shows that you're actually feet on the ground, actively getting out there to make money. Because if you don't have customers, you can't make money. If you can't make money, nobody's going to want to invest in you, and you're going to have to go work at McDonald's. So go get customers. The final 3 categories for AngelSoft: sales and marketing strategy ties into the customers. You can see the progression. There's 400 million people. We've got 5 customers right now. We think we can get another 50 customers in 6 months by doing this marketing strategy and this sales strategy. You have 450 characters. I talked earlier about business model. How do you make money? If you're a website, how do you make money? Is it through the e-commerce, B2B or B2C, or is it through the ads on the website? Are you selling shoes out of the trunk of your car? Where do you make money? How do you make money? You got to be able to tell investors and partners and anybody else what your business model is. Characters allowed for competitive landscape and competitors, 450. Not very many, but where are you in the industry landscape? Who does what you do? Who does it well? How do you do it better? Are you new in an emerging industry? Are you in a saturated market? These are the types of things you talk about. In here, in the business model, is a good place also to talk about what your financial projections are. A good executive summary will talk, this is a big chart right here, but you'll see at the bottom we talk about your revenue projections in 3 to 5 years, maybe a quick 5-year cash flow statement, and maybe a quick series of bullets on sources and uses. This is a little bit overwhelming. Earlier I said that you have a couple of characters for each one, but I want to limb out a little bit of the details. And again, why am I belaboring this? All the stuff that you write in your executive summary is what you're going to expand on in your venture pitch, your slideshow, and in your business plan proper. So if you can get it good here, then you can get it good over there. So one-line pitch. Your goal is to summarize your company as succinctly as possible. Why, in 10 seconds, 15 words, do they want to pay attention to you? We talk about problem, customer problem. What's the critical customer need that your company addresses? I'm belaboring the point and we'll zip through it a little bit quickly. Product, services. How does the product solve the customer pain that you've described above? Entrepreneurs talk about pain. What's the pain in the marketplace? How do you alleviate that pain? And that's your product, your service, something new and innovative from you. Who's your target market? Don't tell us it's men and women from ages 30 to 70 who breathe. It's everybody. What's your specific market? What are you, the business school students talk about primary, secondary, and tertiary. All of that is well and good. Get a little bit of psychographics in here. Tell us the behaviors that your population that you're seeking. What do they do? Why do they do it? How many of them are there? And then talk about how you can actually get in touch with them. How do you reach them? What's your sales strategy? We talk about business model. How do you plan to make money? Are you selling products or services? Are you giving away something in order to get something else? Bob Morrison over at the U of A talks about the business model for razors. They'll give away the razor itself in order to sell the razor blade, right? What are you selling? Where do you make money off of it? What's innovative about it? Be willing and able to talk about it and communicate that very tightly. How do you make money? Competitive advantage first. What is special about you? We talked a lot about that. But how do you make money and what money do you have? So we want just a short little chart in your executive summary, your one-pager, quick 5 years. This is a quick table of our expenses, quick table of our the income we think we're going to earn, and this is where we think we're going to make money and how we can add value to you as the investor. And then a couple of bullets on how you're going to use the money that you're seeking from an investor. If it's an investor executive summary, we need, again, $22, and we're going to spend $3 here and $8 there, and the rest doing the other thing. Sources and uses, how much money you're spending, how much money you make. Show us that you can be profitable in the next few years. Management team is fundamental. Who are you and why are you good? Who do you need? And tell us that. If you can do all that in one page, spot on, excellent, and you're good to go. All right, so to conclude the executive summary, these categories are awesome, but you can do them in a couple of ways. In AngelSoft, you have to submit it to a website, and they've got their own way. But when you hand out a one-page document, you can print it so it looks like this, a single white page with your branding on the front and your contact information and these bolded categories. Or you can be creative and you can have a picture that shows, especially if you have a device that's interesting or a product that you've built, have a little photo of it over here. Don't do stupid clip art or stupid photos that really don't do what, don't display you but are generic. But if you have something that's really helpful to a visual to carry the image, do that. You can also shade your categories so that each one pops out and stands out. I'm not worried about that for now. My main concern for you is that you know the topics that you want to address and that you can understand how to tighten up the content for them. But I'll leave it to you to manage the graphics of it as you wish afterwards. The venture pitch is really interesting, and this is such a nice slide here. You're going to get 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes to show the tip of your iceberg, the cap of everything that you have. But the rest of your business is going to be buried under the water. And what you want out of your presentation is to get them to say, I like that. I want more of that iceberg. And we'll play out the metaphor. I'm going to go deep sea diving with you and we'll see the rest of the iceberg. But your presentation, just like your executive summary and just like your elevator pitch, is a short, concise hook of what you do. I've said before, you're telling a story. What's the story? What's the narrative? Who are you? How are you solving somebody's problem? Who's got the problem? All the stuff we've talked about. But you're going to tell it's a tight story, 10 minutes. And you want to eliminate the steps of imagination. You don't want someone in the room watching you go, I wonder they should have done it this way. You want to hook them and keep them. And you certainly don't want them pulling out their BlackBerry or their Droid and checking their email. So tell an interesting story. Other piece of advice in here, you're the expert. It's your presentation, it's your material, you're the entrepreneur. You better know it better than anybody else. If you don't, you're not ready to give the presentation. So be confident, stand up tall. When I teach students at the university, there's invariably students who are end their sentence with a question. We're going to do this. And I say, do not California it. You know your stuff. Slam your hand on the table. This is what we do. You've got to speak with confidence. You're the expert. We have up here, communicate integrity. First of all, if you don't have integrity, then go away. We don't want you being involved with this stuff. You have to treat everybody with respect and honor, follow the rules of the road, follow the law, communicate that you are a person of integrity. Let people see that by the way you act. As we slide down to slideshows, I write, animate yourself, not your slides. My last name's Accetta. I'm from Sicily. We went to Sicily a couple years ago, found my dad's family, and everyone talks with their hands. That's what we do. We talk with our hands. If you remember John F. Kennedy when he was talking about the Bay of Pigs, he sat with his hands here on the table. You have your style. Use your style. If you talk with your hands, use your hands. Don't direct airplanes with them, but use your hands the way you need to. What's your style? Who are you? And animate yourself. Be you. This is a silly bullet point because I'm writing that pictures are worth more than words are. Picture is worth 1,000 words. I've got bullet points. Find the image, find the graphic that represents what you want to represent, not the bullet points. And I've done a miserable job of that in this PowerPoint presentation because I'm giving you lots of information, not hooking you on things, but pictures are really helpful. So if you have a new venture, a new product that you've made, have a picture of it. If you got a prototype, bring the prototype or show the prototype. If it's a real estate and you've got an architectural drawing, put that up on your slide. If you know your market, put that up. The picture that carries the image. Some people talk about slides, 10 slides, 20 minutes, so therefore 2 minutes a slide, and 30-point font. This is about 24 font. Some people talk about the 5x5 rule, 5 bullets at the most with 5 words. Some say it's a 7x7 rule, 7 bullets, 7. The whole point is figure out what you want to say and how you want to say it best. Find the appropriate mix of images and words and decide how you want to represent yourself. And of course, once again, practice your investor pitch. Videotape yourself, get somebody to watch it, have people watch you and critique you, but you've got to be willing to go through the critique. There is a style for you. You've got your style. Here are 3 groups that you might go model yourself after. The most recent traditional way has been developed by a fellow out of Palo Alto area, Guy Kawasaki, The Art of the Start. Very popular book about 8-9 years ago, and we'll talk about him in a moment. Recent trends is Ignite Show, and I'll come to that in a second. That's quick bullet point slides. And then Presentation Zen is a pretty cool resource for thinking of how to add images. So my advice to you is find some combination of facts, storyline, and images that reflect your style. Let's look at a couple of these. I'll invite you, I won't do it now, but go to igniteshow.com. These Ignite shows are all around the country. Some of them are here in Arizona. And it's a place often at a club environment, Hotel Congress here in Tucson or the Fox, something like that, where people are invited to come up and give a quick 20-slide slideshow. And it's set for 15 seconds for each slide, and then you speak over that. And it's fast, and it's image-based, fast. And the goal is to inspire your audience to think or act. Go check out some of this stuff. See if there's some lessons you can learn in here about how to speed up your slideshow and how to hook your audience. Presentation Zen is really interesting. This group talks about images. The guy who runs it is big on images, and he's got a couple of nifty ideas, a lot of nifty ideas, on how to drive your slideshow through images. And again, we don't have time to do a whole slideshow on presentations, but I'll invite you to check out some of these resources. The final piece of advice is Kawasaki's, and we've got a series of the same pieces of information that we talked about earlier. What's your title? What's your company name? Your contact information? And he talks about a mantra. Another way of saying that could be your company slogan, a couple of words on who you are, but the same stuff: problem, solution, business model. He calls it underlying magic. I've called it today your superhero strength. How do you go get your customers? Competition management, again, your financials, and the element of where you are. We talked about this way back in the elevator pitch. Where are you? What's your call to action as well? All right, so it is all about you. Who are you? How do you want to represent yourself? Same stuff we talked about earlier. But now you've got a 15 to 20 minute venture pitch, and it's the details that count. We talked about that earlier too. We've got 5 slides here that give you 20 bullet points of things that you need to put in your venture presentation. I've already said it's you, it's your venture, and now I'm saying, well, you've got to do these things. Again, I'll let you decide what's most important to you. It's the stuff we've talked about earlier, key stuff that you need. Who are you? What's your company, your branding information, and then that same problem, opportunity, customer, target market, your solution. Bullet point number 2 up here is your opening, and that's the hook. What is it that's interesting about you that sets the stage for your venture? Is it a story? Is it a series of images? The problem? Early in your venture presentation, you better be able to show all of these things and have us interested in you. And now we hit some of the nuts and bolts. Again, the stuff we've talked about: business model, the industry, the environment, why you're special, how you're going to reach your customers, and what your plan is. We haven't talked much about this, but at some point in your venture pitch and in your business plan, you're going to have a section on where we are in our venture, our timeline, who we're going to hire, where we're going to get our customers from, anything that we need to know about what you are planning for your venture. This will tie in with operational strategies. We haven't talked much about operations. Generally, in an elevator pitch and an executive summary, we don't care that much about how you're going to do what you do. We need to know what you're going to do. But in the presentation and then in the business plan, you really do need to show us how you're going to operationalize your venture and how much money it's going to cost. This is sort of important stuff. If you can put a diagram in there, that'd be very helpful. We've talked at length about superhero strength or secret sauce or whatever it is, but often that's your intellectual property and perhaps any legal issues that you're dealing with and how you solve them. That speaks to why you're special and different, as does your management team and how you're going to structure yourself. Plenty of students, when they do their venture presentation, have a slide in risks and contingencies, and they'll have a big bold, the risks. You can downplay this to an extent, but you have to tell the truth. If you don't get the patent, you'll get run over. If you can't get this warehouse going, you'll get run over. What are the risks to making your venture successful, and how do you solve those problems? What's your plan? Something kind of fundamental in the venture presentation. They'll ask you those questions in the Q&A. If you confront it early, it's very helpful. And finally, as you get towards the end of your venture presentation, you're going to need to talk about money. What are your assumptions? What's your 5-year plan, your projections? What's your investor's return on investment? Again, how much money do you need? How are you going to spend that money? Those are fundamental elements. We've talked about closing and asking for what you want, but getting the audience to yes is fundamental in any of this stuff. In comedy, they talk about the callback. He starts with the opening joke and then ends the set with reference back to that joke, and he's probably woven that joke in throughout. Think of your closing slide as a way to call back the key elements that you want. You're going to want some supporting slides, and we'll talk about those more as we turn to question and answer. Perhaps the most important part of your venture presentation is how you handle question and answer and how you talk with the interrogators. You need to listen. They're going to ask questions. Sometimes there's a question buried within the question. Sometimes they don't even know what they're asking until they get to the end of it. But you need to listen to them. So you have to be respectful, step forward, make eye contact with them, nod your head, not in a superficial way, but in an I'm engaged way, and pay attention to what they're asking you, and then answer the question with the facts at hand. Again, I've said all along, tell the truth. If you know something, have a supporting slide to answer it, or speak up and answer it. And if you don't know it, talk about how you don't know it and what you need to do to figure out the answers to it. We all know this as good human beings. You need to listen to people with you, and you're going to have X number of people in the room. A bunch of them are going to ask you questions. Listen to the question and then try to answer it. When you're done with your Q&A, when you're done with the presentation, and they give you a couple of moments to summarize, make sure you ask for the close. What's the next step that you want? Another meeting? Time to meet with your lawyers and sign the deal? You want to go for a drink? Whatever the next step is, ask for the next step. And that's about it on venture presentations. Of course, there's a ton to say, but you can check out those references we gave you earlier as you build out your slideshow. But that should be a good start on your venture presentation. So that's the venture presentation. Let's talk about business plans. We've spent a lot of time on the venture pitch. We've spent a lot of time on the executive summary and the 1 to 2 minute elevator pitch. All of that is built around the business plan, which is a 15 to 20 page document that's the core of your planning for your venture. Jim Gingerich, with whom I've worked at the McGuire, says a business plan is always done and it's never done. Once you have that 1-pager, good, you've got your business plan. Once you've got a 20-pager, you're going to need to rewrite it. You always have it done, but it's never done. Let's look at some of the purposes of a business plan. One is to create and define your strategic plan. W.H. Auden, the great poet from the early 1900s, said, "How do I know what I think until I say it?" And I'm sure you've done this yourself. It's only at the end of a verbal utterance that you actually say, oh yeah, that's what I believe. It's often after you do all the work of struggling through something that you get to the kernel of truth. So as you write up a 20-pager, you'll finally figure out what you're trying to do. To my mind, that's the most important part of a business plan, is to help you know what you're thinking about. So you want to create and define your strategic plan. You want to consolidate your research, all your notes, all your details, and all your thoughts. You want to organize and create some action for your team. That's why you write a 20-page plan. It's the act of working on that stuff that creates the vision, the focus, and the direction for everybody around this new venture of yours. The other thing that's really nice about working on a business plan is you figure out what you don't know. You figure out what your risks are. You figure out where you're weak, and then you can put strategies into place to solve those problems. But it's only in the writing that you can do that. Another very important point about the business plan is people in your life are going to want to read it. When you think you can skate by without having a business plan, oh, I've got a 1-pager, I've got a press release, I've got a venture pitch. It's not true. Investors are going to need to see a business plan. Key stakeholders, whether it's first customers or distributors or partners, they're going to want to see it. People will want to hear your pitch, read your summary, and be charmed by you and all your charisma, but they're still going to want to see that business plan. So make sure that you work on a good business plan. A couple of broad strokes. I've said it, and I've said it. Tell the truth. Stick to the facts. Don't create a business plan that exaggerates. Don't create a business plan that has sort of, again, I'm talking about exaggeration in imagery, that has funny clip art or big bold fonts or multicolors. Just try to be a little bit more formal with it. Be professional. You want the basics. Have a title page with your branded company, your logo, your contact information, a table of contents so that they can jump to the key areas that they want. It's not a bad idea to have a footer or a header with, again, branded with your logo, the page numbers. Again, if you're submitting to an investor, it's got to be professional. So include a color cover page and a professional binder, perhaps any marketing collateral that you have. As you submit this out, keep track of those to whom you're giving your business plan. You want to know who's got it and what they're doing with it. Again, I come out of the English department. My PhD is in English and rhetoric and composition, so I love commas and semicolons and stuff like that. You better make sure that your business plan is spot on. If you can't figure out how to write a clear sentence, and if you have plenty of sentence level errors, they're going to think, and perhaps rightly think, that you can't solve attention to detail problems in the rest of your venture. So if you can't solve the details of your business plan, then how are you going to solve the details in your warehouse or in your laboratory? So make sure that you look good and that you're nice and clean. The business plan is tight and concise. That's why we started this presentation today with a 30-second pitch, a one-page document, a 30-slide venture pitch. It's tight, it's focused. This is not the dumping of everything you know. I have a student team at the U of A made an 80-page business plan. We don't want 80 pages. What did Mark Twain said? He said, "I'm sorry to have to write you such a long letter. I didn't have time to write a short letter." Make the time to write a short, concise business plan. If you can't write, and I get it, you might be a scientist, you might be a business person, you might be an engineer, and writing's not the big thing that you love in the world. Maybe you can go get somebody to write it for you or polish it for you. There are plenty of companies in town. It's your stuff though, so don't just give it to somebody. You're going to need to do the work and maybe have somebody help you. My advice is to write it yourself and then get editing help, but don't trust somebody else to write your business plan. We've talked all day about these elements. I'm not going to belabor the point. It's the same stuff that we've talked about in all the other parts of how you communicate your new venture. You make your choices. There's plenty of textbooks. This is a nifty one, The Successful Business Plan by Rhonda Abrams. You can find plenty of resources to help you. AngelSoft will give you the categories you need. But that's the stuff that goes into a business plan. So in summary, we've just skipped through business plan. I've said it's the most important part, but as you work through all those other pieces of new venture communication, you're going to be well on the way to a successful business plan. Remember that people want to talk to you about your business wherever you are, in an elevator, at a social function, at a wedding, at a trade show. People are interested in what you do. If you're interested in it, they'll be interested in it. Be willing to talk about it and show how you can add value to them. In terms of how you start your venture and the way Arizona Center for Innovation can help, don't forget to schedule a session if you're here with your incubator or with your advisor. If you don't have a formal advisor, come get an advisor, get some mentors, work with them to help you work on your pitch and your summary and your presentation. Look at everything. Here's my marketing material. Here's my venture pitch. Here's my business plan. Make sure that everything is of a piece. Get people to help you with it. There's a lot of great ways that you can sell yourself.